I'm now ready to install the front floor section, and it needs to slide in between the inner sill and floor crossmember. I think the person who designed this car also designed the Rubik's Cube. They obviously enjoyed puzzles of the mind. Let's imagine the sills were in good condition and you only wanted to replace the floor. I can see two options here. You can sit down and cry about it, or you can stand up and cry about it, because doing so will be upsetting for whoever attempts it. Chiropractic bills are non-existent in this trade as long as you weld bars across the car that make it as awkward as possible. There's no way of clamping the floor to the cross member, so self-tapping screws are the most effective way to bring the parts together. Have the two pressed together as tightly as possible for a neat plug weld. The same has to be done for the chassis rails. I always turn the welder up a notch to ensure decent weld penetration on plug welds. You can see where the floor attaches to the underside of the inner sill, and access is much better with the lower part of the inner sill removed. These welding sleeves provide decent protection for this job, and I even wear them in a t-shirt during the summer. Sometimes I'll increase the wire feed when welding upside down, as for some reason it's necessary. If your welding sounds like this, then your welder is set absolutely perfect. The method I use for grinding off welds is the electric grinder to begin with, then the air-powered grinder for better control of metal removal and visibility. Which reminds me, I must go to the dentist. Then the air file, and finally a 50mm air sanding disc. The object here is to remove the weld with the least amount of thinning of the surrounding metal and the best visual appearance. Now repaired the front section of the lower inner sill, and strength is starting to be regained. Looking at the boot floor, I've also welded in the floor brace with exhaust mounting. Some of you might be wondering why I grind off all the plug welds underneath the car. No one will see it, so what's the point? Now working to remove the rear floor, and again using my scissor jack trick to drill out the spot welds. Drilling is faster and neater than grinding, it just takes more physical effort, particularly when the Alfa Romeo factory worker was getting paid by the spot weld. I'm not going to complain about the amount of them, but it did seem a long task. These are arches that I made for a Jensen Interceptor a few years ago. At the time, you could only buy a rear quarter panel at great expense. I decided it was worthwhile making some templates from an original Interceptor and then making some arches to sell, which I did on eBay for a while. Once set up, I can make one in around 45 minutes, but it's quite a physical job. The tools I use for this job are the English wheel, bead roller, shrinker and the normal off-the-shelf hand tools. Please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video of the making of an arch, and I will make one. And if you need an arch for an Interceptor, I would happily sell you one. Here are a few pictures of an Interceptor I did the metalwork on. This was an FF and it came out really nice and sold for a six-figure sum. This is another Interceptor which I made the front panel and rear valance for. The rear of the tailgate on both Interceptors was a challenge with that distinctive wraparound glass. Each weld wanted to distort the narrow framework surrounding the glass. As always, thanks for watching.